So in today's example, we're actually going to chronicle the Eastern School District. They're acting as the lessee or the tenant. They're going to be leasing a building from the city of Springfield, which is acting as a lessor. Both of the entities have a fiscal year end of June 30th, and they'll be both transitioning to GASB 87 on July 1st here of 2021. So as we mentioned before, we're going to walk through the accounting for both the lessee and the lessor. Now, on February 18th, as we'll see here highlighted, the Eastern School District leased the gymnasium from the city of Springfield, and the commencement date is set for August 1st of 2021. Once construction is completed for the gym, the school is going to lease the entire building, but the city is still going to own both the building and the parcel of land. Now, luckily, construction is completed ahead of schedule, and the city allows the Eastern School District early access on July 1st of 2021. So during the month of July, the school has full control or coverage over how they decide to use this facility. Now, there are three important dates here, and understanding the importance of all three here will dictate how you determine the appropriate accounting action. And so that's what we're going to walk through here. We have February 18th of 2020, July 1st of 2021, and August 1st of 2021. So what is the commencement date? The lease commencement date is the date that the lease asset and the lease liability will be recognized. And generally, this is the date that the lessee takes possession of the underlying asset. Based off of what we've learned in the previous slide, the school and the city signed the contract on February 18th. They agree to lease starting August 1st of 2021. But the city actually grants that early access to the school on July 1st, and that's in order to paint the gym. So the commencement date is July 1st of 2021. And this is the date that the ownership actually transfers, and this will be the date that the school recognizes an obligation or liability, and the city is going to record a receivable. Now let's get into some more background information about what's going on here with our example. The lease term will cover one school year, which will be from August of 2021 to May of 2022. But the school has three options to extend the lease term, each for 1 year. So August through May for both of those lease terms or the extensions. The base rent for the extension is equal to the greater of the fair market value of the space, or $13 per square feet, of which the school is going to inform the city no later than 60 days of the lease end date. So again, both the contractual lease term and the renewal options are from August 1st to May. And the reason is because the AAU basketball organization rents the facility out during the summer. So you may remember Rachel talking about the interruption period, being able to utilize the asset for a period of time, but maybe providing access to another third party at another time. We have a contractual commencement date as of August 1st of 2021, where the city is providing early access starting July 1st of 2021. So this is in advance. And the initial lease end date is going to be May 31st of 2022. Now, of course, we've talked about there being options that were extended in this lease term. So the renewal period for each of those three options, again, will cover a full school year. So that's going to be from August 1st to May 31st. With our three renewal options here, the last one ending as of May 31st of 2025. Again, keep in mind that with each of the school years here, we are excluding the months of June and July. So let's get a better understanding of the lease term. With what we've reviewed so far, we have our early access date, we have our contractual commencement date, the lease end date, and the 3-year renewal period. So when we evaluate the time period between July 1st, the early access into the building, would that be a part of our full lease term? Yes, in fact, that would be. So we're receiving the early access. We're actually going to account for that period on our books. Now we have the period between August 1st to May 31st of 2022. Of course, that's what's actually stated in the original lease term. So of course, that's going to be included in the full lease term. Now we have our 3-year renewal period. Now up front here, we may consider what we've talked about with the short-term lease exemption. Of course, it is important to evaluate the maximum lease term here. However, when we're evaluating what's actually provided in the information, the background detail, the period from the lease end date, May 31st of 2022, to the maximum renewal period, May 31st of 2025, that's actually not going to be included as a part of our lease term. So it is important to factor that in as a part of the evaluation of it being considered a short-term lease, but it isn't going to be factored into the full lease term. So far right here, what we've evaluated is that we have a lease term of 11 months. It isn't going to qualify as the short-term lease exemption because it has the 3-year renewal term, but this again is going to be accounted for under GASB 87 for a full 11 months. All right, so let's get into a little bit more information here, understanding more about what's evaluated here per the standard. So would this qualify as a short-term lease exemption? We've essentially walked through this here based off of the timeline, but let's give you a little bit more information as to what's actually stated in the guidance. So in paragraph 16, it states that the maximum possible term should be evaluated as a part of the short-term lease exemption being 12 months or less. So with that being included in the options, based off of what we've evaluated, no, this would not be qualified for the short-term lease exemption. Another consideration here is understanding whether the renewal options still qualify as the same lease agreement, even though it has the 2 months of the interruption period, the months of June and July, where the AAU basketball team will be utilizing the gymnasium. So based off of what's provided in the guidance or in the implementation guidance, paragraph 4.2, it states that the lease definition for a contract for that period of time does not require uninterrupted control over the right to use that asset. So based off of what we've learned here, this would in fact qualify here based off of that time period.
A couple questions have popped up about the short term. Someone said if the agreement had a cancellation period, if someone said whether or not the agreement was 1 year with renewals. And just reiterating what Rachel walked through with her part of the presentation, under GASB, if a lease is excluded as short term only if it has a less than 12-month period when you consider everything, the original term and any renewals. If there are renewals for longer than 12 months, whether or not you decide to participate in those renewals or know whether or not you are, like it would then be scoped out of, would be scoped in as a lease you would treat under GASB 87.